Being poisoned is not a pleasant experience. I don't know if any of you have ever been actually poisoned. It is not pleasant. Howdy, Rex here. Happy Veterans Day to the veterans. Thank you for having served, I'm sure with the most honorable intents. This video is just to get out up front. I do not intend for this to be merely clickbait, okay? I was going to only exclusively post this on Patreon, but I'm going to do this version for YouTube as well, because I just feel like it would be incumbent upon me to share this with all of you, because it's too dangerous not to hear this, not to be aware of the dangers in front of you. I'm like commanded in my book that I read that if I see a danger that's extremely credible to warn my brothers. So this one, even though it's not really advantageous for me to share on the greater YouTube, this kind of stuff I'd only share on Patreon typically. I'll risk it and share what I am hearing from people that I trust in the community. So being poisoned is not a pleasant experience. I don't know if any of you have ever been actually poisoned. It is not pleasant. A number of years ago, I was with a prominent firearms trainer, who I will not mention his name, but he's very well known, he's very public. And we went to a restaurant after having trained him and one of his crew members. And we sat down, had lunch, and just the three of us. And I think I had a beer, the other guy had one beer, and the other guy, the other trainer, just had a Coca-Cola or something like that. And all three of us, towards the end of that visit, we sat for about an hour visiting, started getting like a real nasty gag reflex and kind of like sick, like all of us at the same time. And we ate different stuff. And it occurred to us that the people at the restaurant, maybe it was too obvious when we went in there what side of the equation we were on. And this was during a politically volatile time. And we're like, oh geez, look at the cooks back there and look at the waitress. I think maybe we should go drink some dish soap. And we joked like, did that lady poison us? So it was nasty. Whatever happened, maybe there was just dish soap or someone spilled cleaner into all of our food. But sometimes a guy wonders. However, this deal, when it was brought to my attention, is like pretty serious. Did you know that poisoning people is the oldest trick in the book? Going back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Very dangerous. There is a movement right now picking up speed. And I just want you guys to be aware of it. There's a certain class of folk in the world that are extremely outraged and unhinged. And it's funny because we always be accused of being the outraged and unhinged ones when we're bound by God's law to love each other and be excellent with each other regardless of if we like each other or not. However, there is another group of this country that has no problem murdering infants. They have no problem mutilating children. They have no problem with all sorts of other unspeakable debaucheries. They have zero moral standard. They have zero law governing their lives. And it's all about winning and all about revenge. And so I was warned by my brother recently like this morning, like 1 hour ago, dude, do not go out to eat with your family. It's too dangerous right now. And I thought, what? Now, in general, we're trying to separate from the world, trying to grow our own food. Much of this year's food that we have consumed in our house has all been homegrown. So we very rarely go out to eat, but sometimes on special occasions, we might be tempted to do that, to meet up with friends in a neutral location, let someone else cook for you, go out to eat. And I was warned, be careful. And so he sent me some information. I was not aware of this because I don't really pay that close of attention to the political drama. However, we are all aware of how psychotic people get when they're in a state of heightened emotional distress. And you guys know about the pipe smoke of the propaganda, the pride and ego that was singed during the last election of our political guys, which to me is funny because, like, it doesn't matter to me out here which political party wins. My success or failure in life hinges entirely on the sweat of my brow and my efforts here in the soil on my ground. However, the movement is called the aqua tofana movement. This goes back to like the 1630s. That movement was named after some chick in Italy or Sicily who was really angry at men. She was like disgruntled woman, angry at all men because men are just like bossy and like they just use women, they marginalize them and they make them into items, which is in many places in history and many times, I mean, it's not unheard of that sometimes men don't appreciate their wives properly. That's what we do on the Patreon training that we do at our channel. We have assignments. One of them is called Perfection Eve. And I'll share this with you, the YouTube guys. Perfection Eve, we do an exercise where I'm like, guys, we take our beautiful, awesome women for granted. Treat her like a princess with the most excellent, treat her with perfection tonight and see if that improves your situation. And guys get hooked on that. And it's like, wow, everyone is so much more happy when dad leads with positivity. So that's the kind of stuff we do on Patreon. If you want more, I'll share a link below of our training programs that we do there, okay? Put it down to the real actual solutions to these problems. But there's like a movement, and there's a couple new radical, extremely radical communist, government-sponsored feminist movements happening right now in the last few days. I'm not going to name them, and I'm not going to associate them with this particular trend that's happening, but it's all over their version of social media. Now, why did you guys not see it? You know why? Because the algorithms custom tailor your search results for what they want you to what you have shown through your search and what you view. They're optimizing your search results so that you see only what you want to watch. And you don't watch a bunch of blue-haired kids talking about makeup, and you don't watch the lefties crying about their litter box, their litter box rights or whatever the hell kind of stuff they're doing. You're not concerned with that because you do what you do. So you're not going to see it because the algorithm literally has created a chasm between half the country and the other half. So they're creating an echo chamber for your side, and they're creating an echo chamber for their side. I'm neutral, but I've, only seen the stuff that basically is like my search results is all like Bible stuff. You know what I mean? Or like engineering or science stuff, stuff like that, outer space weather. Like my search results are custom tailored for me, so I don't see this. But a brother who has been keeping an eye on all that other stuff, he's like, dude, it is trending all over on social media. And it's popular now. They have a uniform. And we'll talk more about that part on Patreon because, gosh darn it, I don't want to share too much here and create a panic or a buffalo stampede in the wrong direction with unvetted, untrained individuals. But like they have a uniform. They have a name for their deal that they're doing. But it's basically the aquafana movement, which in the 1600s, a lady was poisoning all these dudes. She killed like 600 men. And it was a slow kill poison. It was soft kill. So there would be a couple drops of a liquid they'd put into their soup, into their drink, into their food, and they would have like a cold. And they just feel real run down and tired. And then the second dose, they'd get real sick. And the third dose, it would put them in the bed. And it would take a few months to kill them. But during the course of it, the men would repent of their manliness and they'd sign over all their estate to their wife and get their affairs sorted out so the woman could be free. And so this lady, she was very, very popular in the back of the 1600s for killing, well, the word would be, infamous, right? For killing over 600 dudes that she got caught for. I don't want to go into the other times in history. I'm not going to get into the recipe of the poison they use here because that would be inappropriate. But I am telling you to watch out because that is trending right now amongst the radicals on their side to poison anybody that appears to be what they would call conservative. Now, that is dangerous for me to say. But, man, the creator of the universe tasked me with a microphone, and sometimes I have to have the balls to use it for what is correct and right. I'm warning my brothers, okay? So, here's the problem. You got to consider now being I used to work in science and engineering and in labs, and I know the chain of custody for like a certain process that if it's interrupted by one guy can totally taint or pollute what you're doing. And so think of the chain of custody of your food at a restaurant. How many people handle it? How many people prepare it? How many people put it together on the plate? How many people pass it up to the waiting staff? You got the cooks, and anyone in the kitchen could walk by with a droplet and put a couple drops of something in your food. If they watch your order, if all the waitress or whoever the hostess or just looking out the window from the kitchen, if there's people in that movement, all they have to do is observe your externalities. And dude, you guys glow with your conservatism. I do. Camouflage might be in order at some point, right? Like maybe I should ditch maybe we should ditch our style or something, but just be careful because that stuff is so sinister and covert and snake-like. It'd be very difficult. I mean, and they can tell. You walk into a restaurant with a smiling wife and a bunch of happy kids, they automatically put you in the enemy camp. A lot of these people think, oh, you're having babies with that woman. What is she bearing children for the man? What is she your bot? They're crazy. They really, really hate people. They hate families. You walk in with like a flannel shirt and a beard, they will be able to detect it. If there's one thing they're good at, it's intuition and detecting the enemy. They can feel it. The upstanding man who loves God and loves his family and might even love his country is very easy to smell. The lefties know, they smell it. They're like, that guy walked in with a confident stance. We got your number. We know who you are. How many people are in contact with your food? There's a reason, like years ago, professionals told me, dude, if you're doing the job that you're doing, if you order something to drink at a restaurant, you want it in a bottle. You don't want them to have it poured where you don't see it. You want it in a bottle, and you want them to open the cap right in front of you. Because it's very common, even years ago, for people on that side to be that sinister. But now, with it trending, like it's a big movement, apparently, amongst a particular, there's a couple different large groups that are really passing this around. Be careful of the feminazis, as Rush Limbaugh used to call them. Be careful of some of the litter box crowd. They have zero morals or governors. And if they have no problem taking an unborn child and doing what they do with it and selling it and thinking that that's like their sacrament, the ultimate sacrament of holiness in their effed up religion, I'm telling you, they're not going to have a problem to slow kill you or just put, and how many ingredients in the restaurant just for cleaning stuff. You can do the same thing with cleaning supplies. I mean, you guys got to be careful. And if you drive, think about this. You drive your pickup truck with like, a big obvious cowboy pickup truck with big tires on it. And you got your cowboy hat on. They're going to know at a drive-through. They're going to see in their little camera, we got ourselves a cowboy. All it takes is one person in that entire place. And look at the demographic where these type of undisciplined people would hang out anyways, and where they would, what I mean? I'm just saying, be careful. So what's the solution? Well, you guys would hate to hear Rex expound on the solution. I expound on the solution 24/7 on Patreon, but I'll do some of it here. You see, when American Christianity goes at war against God's law, now how weird is that? Where the so-called religious institutions of America would be on a vendetta for the last 50 years against God's law. Why are they surprised when all of a sudden nobody has any morality? We have systematically taken out the foundations of the country for basic morality. Well, we can't have the 10 Commandments. That's, Jesus died so we don't have to have the 10 Commandments, or whatever the excuse is. Like, hey man, those are like moral standards of the universe that are like, life would be paradise if everyone would just keep those things better. It's an aiming point. But it's actually the religious people that are at most vehemently at war against that. We need to shape up our act. That's the solution. You guys getting mad at the blue hairs, and you guys getting mad at the feminazis or the communist radicals at Berkeley or the University of California, professors that come up with these movements, they're educated, man. They're organized. They're like an army. And through their school system, they're training people for this particular covert revolution. It's going to be overt soon, I'm sure. But you guys need to be very, very careful. We're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. You know what I mean? We're not in Kansas anymore. This is a different world than many of us in our little bubbles of protection, which I live in a bubble of protection. Actually, it's fortified protection. You know what I mean? You got to have good filters. You got to be careful who you hang around. And you can't walk through life smiling and chewing bubblegum, just completely clueless that, they hate you because you remind them of dad. And they hate dad, don't they? Whether it be their earthly dad or their heavenly dad. They hate you because you remind them of their dad, who they have daddy issues with. And that goes for all the apostate churchianity people, too. They have a daddy issue. They don't like the authority of dad. They just want to sing songs or whatever. They don't want to listen to what dad said. They'll get mad at you for bringing it up. They throw tomatoes at Rex in Bible class for bringing up, hey, dad said these standards exist. It's not even like you need to study more of this. Whoa, hold on, man. I'm just saying that, Papa loves us and he has standards. Can we talk about the ancient standards? No, we've gotten past that. That's the solution, is returning to our Father who protects us. And the totality of our instruction to come out of the danger exists in the book. He tells you how to live a life kodesh from the world, which means separated from the world, separate from the world. You come out of the world, not just spiritually, but physically and psychologically, and you don't interface with those kind of people anymore. We're not commanded to be up to our eyeballs in debauchery on a quixotic crusade to save the blue hairs. That's not what our command is. Our command is to lead by example, to lead by demonstrating our good fruit so that those people who have a rough life and had terrible parents or whatever they might have had to make them, have the feelings the way they do, so they can see that there is fulfillment in life. Through how? Through you preaching at them? No, through you, from us trying to live like good dads and good fathers and having good fruit and being happy. Now, to some of them who are completely poisoned and fully bought into the enemy side, they're just going to hate you automatically. But we need to be separated from the world. That is how you don't have them. I mean, if you're in the immediate proximity of those people, they have so many more opportunities to get you. It might be a wise thing to consider getting away from where those people congregate, where they live. Get away from the population centers if you can. Get something humble in the country. Even if you think it's too small, man, I'll tell you what, our ancestors, the pioneers, they lived in a covered wagon when they were migrating to the west in the wintertime for the whole winter. They would do a dugout and they'd bury a covered wagon tipped over sideways. And a family of 5 or 7 would live in a covered wagon and survive the winter. In a covered wagon. You tell me, oh, I can't afford the house I need. You can't afford a pickup truck with a topper on it or a camper until you can always build stuff later. But maybe get away from the world. You know, it tells us in the book, come out of her, my people, in the last days. It does not say to try to fix Babylon. It does not say to try to convince Babylon to come over to our side. It says to just get away from her. Come out of her, my people. Be not partakers of her sins, so you don't suffer of her plagues. One of her many plagues is all the stuff that we see now. The aqua movement is trending heavily on their side of social media. And I'm just warning you that you are being literally targeted in their crosshairs right now, and they fight real dirty. I'd be careful what kind of places you visit, what kind of places you go to. And if you're visibly a successful, happy family, you might just want to raise vegetables in your garden and have complete control of your food supply and supervise everything that happens in your kitchen. Doing it at home might be a good idea until maybe the world is straightened out. When is that going to happen? Well, I read the book and I know about that too. So if you want more of that story, if you have any questions, I answer all the patrons' questions on Patreon. So if you support the operation more than words on Patreon, I very much appreciate you. I prioritize the bandwidth there because the supporters keep the YouTube thing even going. So I appreciate all the help I get from all of you. But if you have any questions, if you're on Patreon, just shoot me a PM on Patreon, and I will absolutely address your concerns, questions, or if you want to learn how to come out of all this, I'd be most happy to just assist as one of your beloved brothers. Okay, so I suppose pass this around to anyone you might know that might be a lot of us are oblivious. A lot of people are oblivious to how bad the world actually is under the covers, man. There's a lot of bad people, and I don't want you to be a victim of something, and I just felt like I should warn you. So hopefully this is helpful. You guys have a wonderful rest of the day. May the creator of the heavens and the earth be with all of you, and you take care. Rex out. If you guys are digging this content and would like to nerd out even farther, please check out the Patreon page. We have 5 different levels available. The top 2 are actually completely full, but the bottom 3 levels do have some open slots. We cover a variety of content from the good book, music, news, everything in between. Thank you very much to the patrons who are there, and take some time to at least check it out. We have a lot more content on Patreon than we actually have on YouTube.